PromoHomo.TV is a mission-driven online television network now streaming worldwide, spotlighting the people, stories, and culture shaping our LGBTQ+ community. To submit a spotlight, share a story idea, or shop mission-driven merch, visit PromoHomo.TV/empower. That's PromoHomo.TV/empower. Find full episodes on the homepage of PromoHomo.TV. Good morning. Well, actually, it's morning when this is going out live, but I do know that most of you watch the show on demand after the fact. So whatever your time zone, welcome to PromoHomo TV. So you saw in the opening that my guest today is Matt Skallerud. I describe him as an LGBTQ+ marketing guru. He's not one to call himself a guru, but I think anybody that knows him and follows him would concur with me. So marketing is a living, breathing, evolving environment. And my friend and colleague, Matt, has been involved at the forefront of LGBTQ+ marketing for decades. And as I was reviewing his bio, I realized, oh my gosh, we've been collaborating since the very beginning. And that means that we're decades older. But you know what? It beats the alternative. So Matt has been at the center of LGBTQ+ digital media for over 30 years. He began his online career in May 1995 with the launch of Gaywired.com, which became one of the top 3 LGBTQ+ websites nationwide and hasn't slowed down since. As president of Pink Media, Matt specializes in LGBTQ+ online marketing through content marketing, social media programming, display, mobile app advertising, SEO, which stands for search engine optimization for those of you who do not know, and paid search. He empowers his clients to reach the LGBTQ+ market using the most advanced techniques available today. And he, in his Pink Media role, has just released a really exciting regional guide. And sort of the headline is Palm Springs isn't just a niche, it's the blueprint. And Matt explains that Greater Palm Springs brings together an extraordinary concentration of LGBTQ+ residents, visitors, businesses, media outlets, healthcare providers, civic organizations, and cultural events. And in today's episode, Matt will explain why this particular infrastructure makes the Coachella Valley one of the most important LGBTQ+ markets in the country, and why successful outreach requires far more than appearing during Pride season. So coming up, my buddy Matt Skallerud after this. I want to thank you for watching and take a moment to thank my media partners. KGay 103.1 Palm Springs. Ask your smart speaker to open KGAY. GayDesertGuide.lgbt. The Palm Springs Post, locally owned neighborhood news. And Pink Media. Find them at pinkmedia.lgbt. PromoHomo.TV is a viewer-supported online television network. For exclusive content, pledge as little as $10 a month at patreon.com/PromoHomo.TV. Now let's hear from some of my very generous patrons.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Samo.
And I'm Kelly Watson. We love supporting PromoHomo.TV and Nicholas's work. The importance of LGBTQ media cannot be overemphasized.
And Nicholas makes this world a better place for all of us.
And without further delay, let me welcome to the show my buddy Matt Skallerud. Hey, Matt.
I'm so excited to be here with you today.
It's great having you here. Do you feel old when you get together with people like me and we've been working together for like 30 years?
How dare you? How dare you call me old?
uh, well,
No,
like I
I
said,
love it.
it beats the alternative.
It does. I embrace it. I turned 60 this year, so that was a big milestone for me, and now I just feel like I'm just going to cruise along through my golden years.
And you had a big 60th birthday uh, destination party.
Yeah, well, my husband organized it because he's spoils me rotten. So, but yeah, we friends, family, we all went to on a Virgin cruise out of Athens and went through a few islands and went through Dubrovnik and had a great time. And I even stayed a little. We stayed an extra week and explored Crete.
Wow, that
Yeah,
sounds really amazing. So, Palm Springs is described, their slogan, like no place else.
yeah.
And you have been following LGBTQ plus marketing for decades, and you have described in the recent extensive guide that Palm Springs is sort of the blueprint
Mhm.
and not a niche market. What exactly do you mean by that?
It's just because they have been pioneering so much of what we see when it comes to other destinations, whether they're Fort Lauderdale being very similar to Palm Springs, and yet some of the others, whether you're looking at West Hollywood or parts of New York, Palm Springs has kind of pioneered a lot of the elements of whether it comes to, like, when you look at, for lack of a better word, it's infrastructure. And so it's an infrastructure of just the Arenas Road that brings people physically together, but then, whether it's the LGBTQ media, it's the business association you have there, the Desert Business DBA, and especially in today's world as we're all getting older, the health infrastructure that's there that really is in place to take very special care of some of our unique needs. And so you put all that together, everything, and Palm Springs just kind of, it really has set a benchmark in many ways for what other destinations I think will be seeking to achieve as things progress.
Well, I think of Palm Springs as a sort of a beacon of hope for the world because of the freedoms that we have here.
Yeah.
Speak to the size and influence of the Greater Palm Springs LGBTQ plus community.
Well, it's interesting because and I didn't even get a number on the Greater Palm Springs area. I know that for Palm Springs as a city, I think the estimate is about 45,000 residents there, and so the big thing there is that out of any other city, it's probably got the highest concentration. They estimate between a third and a half of all Palm Springs residents are LGBT. And so, but when you expand out, especially when it comes to the HRC, that does what's called a municipality equality index, and then they kind of try to rate destinations all across the country for a lot of their infrastructure and how well they're doing when it comes to the LGBT community. And Palm Springs scores a perfect 100, but way up there in the top 90s as far as the score goes is those, Palm Desert. I believe I don't know if Cathedral City was listed there, but I know that they are considered way.
Cathedral City has received the Equality Index award from HRC
Yes.
multiple years, including this year. Very exciting.
So it's very unique, and so you've got just such a strong concentration of positive things happening there, especially in today's world where the news sometimes tries to show us a different world, and so it's nice to see Palm Springs continuing to take the lead.
One of the things that you've done, I want to say in recent months, is that you have started using Substack, and you are making a highly curated sort of B2B newsletter, B2B business to business newsletter for people that really want to be in the know and do deep dives. And you're doing this weekly, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And you're not always debuting the guide weekly, but on the homepage of PromoHomo.TV right now is this episode. And in it are embedded links to subscribe to your Substack, but to also do a one-off purchase of this particular media guide. So I wanted our audience to know that right off the bat. what inspired you to actually get into this regular publication of this valuable content?
I guess in some way there was twofold or more. One of them is I felt I had something to say, but I wasn't really saying it because the outlets that we have, they're fine, but they didn't really have the impact of reach and so forth that I was looking for. And so, especially over the last few years, as brands have continued to pull back from supporting our community, and now we're seeing Pride festivals in a lot of trouble because a lot of sponsorship has gone away. Just overall, that war on DEI many of us have taken a huge hit from that. And so I've been I've had a lot of thoughts on it. I've done a few interviews in various publications, including like New York Times, USA Today, talking about it. But I wanted to go further. The reason I chose Substack was because actually I was starting to publish these whether they're newsletter. It's not really a newsletter, but it's these different articles that I'm putting out each week about various aspects of how we're doing, and not just focusing on the war on DEI, but trying to focus on some of the positive things that are coming out of it, and brands that are staying with us. But I chose that because of LinkedIn, actually, before Substack. So LinkedIn has their whole newsletter system that they've built in, and so if you post something as an article, and you can end up having people not just follow you on LinkedIn, but they can subscribe to your newsletter. And I've been developing that over years, and so we have about 5,000 subscribers on our newsletter. And when I started digging into Substack, because I've noticed more and more journalists were there, I started looking at it and I realized it was almost identical. They may not want to hear it that way, but to me, it was almost identical to what LinkedIn was doing. And so with Substack, you are able to publish almost the exact same type of content that you can on LinkedIn. And then you're able to, of course, have a subscriber base that receives your updates via email as well as through LinkedIn and Substack on their feeds. So it's very powerful. The reach is very strong. And lastly, Substack allows you to import your email newsletter list as subscribers. So that's the missing link. That's the key. And since they were all valid opt-in newsletter subscribers that we developed over the years, we were able to translate this to Substack. And at the end of the day, what that means is that the visibility of everything that we post is very high because they're receiving it via email, and they're also able to go to the Substack app or website and see it as well.
Well, beautifully done, and congratulations. And I know a lot of people are just really hungry for the kind of content that you're producing. One of the things you talk about in your new guide is the region's extensive LGBTQ plus media ecosystem. And you mentioned K-Gay Radio, Gay Desert Guide. I'm a media partner with Brad Furr in both of those outlets. The Standard with Nino Eilets, GED Magazine, and of course, PromoHomo.TV. Do you think that there are any other markets that have similar multimedia collaborations and presence?
There are. I would say Fort Lauderdale is doing a very good job because they've got their publications with hotspots in out SFL or out South Florida, and I think others as well. Oh yeah, OutClick as well. So they've got multiple publications, but they also have a good multimedia presence with happening out news that comes out every, I don't know if it's every few days or so, but they've got a lot of players out there in Fort Lauderdale that are trying to also kind of do a lot of what I see in Palm Springs. And so in in other regions, you'll see bits and pieces of all that. Of course, there's publications, strong websites and so forth, social media presence all throughout, whether it's Dallas, LA, New York. But when it comes to that kind of multimedia, and especially the ones that collaborate and work together, you don't see that as often or as much as you do in some of the places like Palm Springs and Fort Lauderdale.
Well, it's really fantastic to be a part of this particular community and to have resources like those that we just mentioned, and I'm honored to be among them. You also spoke about the importance of LGBTQ plus civic leadership and public policy, and of course, that's one of the reasons the Human Rights Campaign acknowledges our greater metropolitan area and many of the cities. And the obvious answer to my question is public policy in a way that's favorable to LGBTQ plus issues is vital, and
Mhm.
that's how you make it a safe and welcoming place to be. But what would you like to say in terms of elaboration?
Well, I mean, isn't your city council uniquely LGBTQ? I don't know if everyone is or if it's
Well,
no.
no, they're either members or allies of the
Yeah,
community, and
yeah.
at one point they were entirely LGBTQ plus, and of course, the city of Palm Springs is a major sponsor of Palm Springs Pride, and
Mhm.
uh, totally, it's like so many people in our community, the LGBTQ plus community, are living in cities where their government is against them. I mean, not to
Yeah.
mention across the world. So to to live in an affirming community where there are openly LGBTQ plus elected officials is just really empowering.
It's huge. And then when you do compare that, excuse me, when we're talking about Fort Lauderdale, we can't forget the fact that it's part of the state of Florida that has made it against the law, breaking all their rules when it comes to whether it's a destination or the cities. The way Palm Springs uh, with Visit Palm Springs and Visit Greater Palm Springs with the destination side, and then also with the city, the way they support Pride and other events, that's no longer allowed in the state of Florida. So when I was at Fort Lauderdale Pride last month, it was a great Pride and had a great turnout and so forth. But the ones that were visibly absent were Visit Fort Lauderdale, which has always been a strong supporter of their local event LGBTQ events, and they're one of the biggest destinations promoting themselves out there to the LGBTQ community for as far as travel to Fort Lauderdale. So all across the state of Florida has been completely removed, which is a huge, huge hit.
So Visit Fort Lauderdale didn't participate officially in that Pride celebration because of the legal constraints upon them,
Correct.
and they would have to break the law in essence to participate.
Correct.
Well, that must really um, suppress a lot of different participation in the festival.
It's the LGBTQ community in the state of Florida is very strong and continues along, but they're living under the auspices of a lot of constraints now that are kind of taking us back to a different time. So of course we're all hoping that these are temporary measures and moves that and it's not that we're going to go back to normal, but we're going to go back to, it's not even a new normal. It's just we're going to go back to something that really is able to look back on the things that have happened and really try to move forward in a way that won't let that happen again.
One of the things you also stress in the report is that the health infrastructure in the Coachella Valley is very important, and it's so important for individuals to have healthcare providers that they can trust, that
Mhm.
they can be seen by, acknowledged by, whether it's sexual health and wellness or whatever. And of course, we have an older LGBTQ plus population. So I'm 64. I'm a bit older than you. Yes, but I don't want to be the daddy. That's not my role. Um, just as an aside, people say, "How come you don't have children?" And my response is always, "Well, I didn't think that I should become a daddy if I was consistently searching for one." But I digress. What I wanted to say was that the major healthcare providers here, such as Eisenhower Health and Desert Regional Medical Center and DAP Health, which grew from a single building to a regional healthcare force, they're all specifically targeting the LGBTQ plus market. Um, in many ways collaboratively, but also competitively.
Mhm.
Um, have you worked have you worked specifically with any of the entities that I just named? And what would you say about the collaboration and competition among these types of businesses in an environment like the Greater Palm Springs area?
Yeah, well, I always think competition is good because it makes everyone better. And especially when we're on the receiving end of that competition, that means that we're typically in a position to receive, when it comes to health, some really top end health providers and so forth. But yeah, we've actually we're currently working with in a partnership with KGay and Gay Desert Guy. We're working with I believe it's Oasis Health, and
Yes. I should
and
have mentioned them in the whole list of places I just
yeah,
named.
and they're doing a show with Ask a Gay Doc, and so they John Taylor from KGay does a video podcast, or just a video show where he interviews them. They have discussions about different health topics, and our job is to help distribute and get that out there to a wider audience. And so we work with them on that.
And it's popular as well, and they have audio versions of those interviews on KG all the time.
Yeah.
And of course, you mentioned the Desert Business Association,
Hmm.
which is basically the LGBTQ plus Chamber of Commerce, and the DBA though has had impact across the country by virtue of the work they did and their involvement in bringing the recent NGLCC conference to the greater desert area. Speak to the importance of the chamber system and how the presence of DBA within this market are one of the reasons why it's the blueprint.
Yeah, well, it's all part of that infrastructure we talked about at the very beginning. And when it comes to a LGBT business chamber, especially one that's as established and strong as the DBA, it really boils down to there's a lot of small business owners in every community, and the LGBTQ small business owners. It gives them a great opportunity to not only just kind of get together, network, learn from each other, do business with each other, but then also it kind of expands and creates a kind of a force and a power that when other organizations want to work with other businesses in the Palm Springs area, there's a whole network in place. So if somebody's coming in and they're trying to, whether they wanted to open a hotel, and then all of a sudden they're going to be looking for various services and contractors that they could work with, they can sometimes have a one-stop shop when it comes to going through the membership of a DBA to be able to find a lot of the folks they want to work with.
Well, and I know that Gay Desert Guide collaborates very deeply with the DBA and is the official sort of curator of their online directory. I think I could be mistaken on that, but they do work very closely together. The other thing you talk about in terms of the Greater Palm Springs area is the year-round occurrence of LGBTQ plus focused events.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, when you think about that, that's always been great because Palm Springs being so hot in the summertime means that Palm Springs has offered a lot of events that were kind of off the norm when it comes to everything happening in June and July as it's happening right now. So Pride being in November, the White Party used to be one of the largest gay men's events anywhere, and talk about a blueprint. That White Party really set the standard for what a lot of other circuit parties tried to become all around the world. And
Well,
so
now the Dyna has
yeah,
has changed ownership, and it's they're hot and heavy getting ready for this year's event.
and I think they actually host their event in the fall, I believe. So, but I know the dates have been moving around from what it used to be. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's just the Dyna being one of the largest lesbian events. I want to say around the country, but also worldwide, because they do attract women from all over to an event like that, and they've just done an amazing job of being able to kind of keep that consistency and make it something that people plan for. The women specifically plan for every year.
Well, and it's so important. I think that maybe we're going to break some news together right now because we talked about these year-round events, and this coming Palm Springs Pride is the 40th anniversary, and I just have opened an email. I haven't even looked at it, from the executive director of Palm Springs Pride, Jasmine Sullivan Waits, and she is sending this out to the inner workings of Pride, and I'm just going to quote directly from her. She says, "This year is more than another festival. It's a milestone. For 40 years, Palm Springs Pride has brought people together to celebrate authenticity, visibility, equality, and community. As we look toward November 2026, we have the opportunity to honor that legacy while creating an experience that reminds every person who attends that they belong. At a time when so many in our LGBTQ plus community are seeking connection, acceptance, and hope, safe and welcoming spaces matter more than ever. That is exactly what Palm Springs Pride has always provided, and together we will continue that tradition. While Pride organizations across the country are navigating significant financial challenges, one thing has remained clear: our community continues to show up. This past June, July, Pride celebrations across the nation demonstrated that attendance remains strong because in this moment, people need pride. They need places where they can celebrate who they are, find community, and know they are not alone. None of that happens without each of you. Your leadership, dedication, creativity, and countless hours of volunteer service are what make Palm Springs Pride possible. Thank you for continuing to share your talents with our organization and our community. So that's just right out from Palm Springs Pride this morning, about our celebration in November, and I've confirmed that it will be my 11th year in a row broadcasting the parade, but the 10th anniversary of the first broadcast. Looking forward to that. What do you think? What do you think Pride festivals can do, and what have you observed them to be doing to overcome the diminishment of the corporate sponsorships because of the attack on DEI?
Yeah, well, I guess there's multiple ways of looking at that. For one, some of the smaller prides in outside of the LA, New York, Chicago. When you look at outside of that, a lot of times they never really had a large budget and large sponsors to begin with. Excuse me. So this hasn't affected them, but simultaneously, I believe it may actually end up making a lot of the smaller prides shine in this environment where they're able to. They're not competing with big city prides that have so much more to offer anymore. So now it's becoming more of a leveling of the playing field. But the bigger cities, I was at New York City Pride. I went to Fort Lauderdale Pride. All the events are still doing what they typically did, which was, bringing people together, offering opportunities for various, socializing events, a parade to go through. But you're seeing a lot less corporate presence in the parades, and you're seeing a lot less of the bigger, larger events that you would see that at the end of the day, one could argue and say, were they ever really that necessary for Pride anyway? So Pride starting out as a protest and a place where people, where the LGBT community was, came together to be able to kind of fight, show cohesiveness and to fight for their rights. And when you look at it that way and through that lens, it shows that perhaps we'll be coming back a little bit more to our roots as well.
Well, one of the central messages of the new LGBTQ plus Palm Springs Regional Guide is that presence is the strategy. And you have advised that the brands and organizations that succeed in Greater Palm Springs are not merely renting visibility for a weekend. They participate in the media, institutions, businesses, and events that sustain the community throughout the year.
Well, especially you're seeing, that goes to, there's always been a lot of talk, whether it's called rainbow washing and what have you, where companies just show up in June for Pride Month and then go away. But there's also a lot more when we talk about the smaller, and Palm Springs isn't necessarily in that category of being a smaller Pride, but when you're dealing with some of the smaller communities, and you're looking at some of the various opportunities that were there, you're finding that the not only did it become a more equal and level playing field, but it really made it so that a lot of the folks that were promoting just for Pride are able to work a lot closer with whether it's local media and their local communities to be able to do things a lot more year round than they were before. There's actually a whole thought process behind that, that in this shift, that there's a lot more strength and there's a lot more safety in working more on a local community, at a local community level, as opposed to trying to do something nationwide. Because when you do something nationwide, maybe it's a little bit more visible than what some of these brands are looking for. And so they're finding that by focusing a little bit more on what's called the kind of like the hyper local communities throughout the U.S., that maybe that's the safer way, and also a blueprint for how they may move forward in the years to come.
Your official website is on the screen, pinkmedia.lgbt. People that go to PromoHomo.TV right now can find this interview with direct links to purchase the regional guide and subscribe to your market and regional guides. But if people go to pinkmedia.lgbt, from that homepage, how do they navigate to the subscription opportunity?
It's all right there on the front page. Just scrolling down a little, or in the menu item itself, there's a whole feature for the gay market guides.
Okay, now one of the things I want to end with, and then we can also include anything that maybe you want to talk about that we haven't, is that you had to adapt significantly as a company when your very evolved hashtag I Love Gay campaign was unceremoniously kicked off of X,
Yep.
which I think was probably still Twitter at the time. It was such a powerful way of reaching your audiences, and you used it in a way that was just awesome. And then that disappeared, and you had to adapt. So what have been some of the successful ways that you've adapted, and what caution would you say, how would you advise people that may rely too heavily on one particular social media platform?
Well, it's even whether you're relying too heavily on any one platform, or if you just always realize that any of the platforms that you're on, and that you're growing and you're building an audience, and you've got a rhythm, and you've kind of figured it out. And that's what we had done on X and Twitter. We kind of figured out how to, and in many ways, I emphasize this word, authentically reach and engage with audiences that were specific to some of the various niches that these reports touch on today. So whether it's music and theater and so forth, we had profiles dedicated to each one of those. And same with Palm Springs. We had some Palm Springs for LA, but each one of those really had an engaged audience for each one of those, for each profile. And so we always knew in the back of our mind, though, that as that continued to grow, that could all be taken away. And so the unfortunate part was that it did grow really large, and it was unceremoniously all shut down within seconds of each other. But at the end of the day, to answer your question, always knowing that whether you're on your platform, you've got a strong audience on Instagram and TikTok and so forth. There are stories about people being shut off and their profiles and accounts being shut down all across these various platforms for sometimes no reason. And you were also a victim of that. And I'm assuming that, I don't even know if you've got that resolved even today when it came to Facebook.
Well, actually, I was going to update you and my audience about it. So I'm currently still suspended from Facebook. This happened. It happened officially on May 4th, but I think that it was late in the evening, and I received a message that said my account was suspended because of human exploitation, that I could appeal it, and I appealed it immediately the night of May 4th. And it required me to click 2 or 3 boxes and then record a video to prove that it was me. Then beginning May 5th, I started getting a screenshot anytime I go to Facebook that says your appeal should be taken up within about a day. It's been over 2.5 months. What I did was I signed up for Meta Verified on Instagram so I could access the Meta Verified support chat feature. I engaged with them, and after over 40 back and forth messages, I was told ultimately that they don't have any way of reaching the department that handles it, and I just have to wait. And so a few weeks went by after that, and then I used the same feature, but at this, for whatever reason, it kept me in a chat mode on Instagram Meta Verified Support, and it didn't direct me to email conversations. And the person that I identified with, that I spoke with, chatted with, said that it looked like I had been trapped in some sort of automated technical loop, and that he would transfer the issue to humans, and gave me a new reference number. And then at the end of the chat, he said, if I had further questions, go to these Facebook links. Well, I cannot go to Facebook links
Hmm.
because I'm suspended from Facebook. So I haven't lost the appeal. I haven't given it up. But I was reaching 30,000 to 50,000 people a month in that environment with my programming. But more importantly, I really was using the program for authentic connection. I mean, the
Mhm.
platform for authentic connection with my friends and my community and events. So the upside is I've started to use all the other platforms more. I'm hoping that is resolved in my favor, because it was the personal Facebook profile that was suspended. My public page is still active, in good standing, and monetized. So it's like last month I made a few dollars from a page I cannot even visit. But the only administrator of that page is the personal profile that has been suspended. So, yeah, it's like,
You're not alone.
I'm
There
sh
are others that are suffering the same thing you've gone through.
well, we all have obstacles, challenges, things to overcome. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger, as they say. Is
Yep.
there anything you want to add, Matt, that we haven't talked about?
No, no. I just we didn't talk about the history of like why are we doing this game market guide and these
Let's
reports
do
now.
that.
And just to keep briefly, if you remember, we created the what was called the Game Market Guide back in 2005, and so and that was a single source. It was about 100 pages, and what we try to do is touch on all elements of what is the LGBTQ community, and of course part of that was digging deeper into travel and sports, and then some of the key regions that were there. So and we published that 2005, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So for 5 years, 5 different issues, and loved it. It was exciting. We had a great time with it. Well, at the end of the day, basically, I just dusted that off. So basically, 20 something years later, I was able to take that and then bring it up to date, to rework it into something that's much more current. But what I decided to do is, since we're not publishing a physical book, I decided that I would make the Gay Market Guide really reworded into LGBTQ plus market report, market guide, but really focus on just the key aspects of who we are as a community, and then create sub reports for almost every other element that was out there. Whether it's, like I said, travel, theater, entertainment. So we're creating reports that go into a much deeper dive than we were ever able to touch on before. And we're going to be doing, releasing those every month. But then on the regional side, we realized that was also an extremely important thing to do. So Palm Springs being our first one that we've released regionally, but they're all part of this thing that we started in 2005, and it really has meaning. It has a reason to live in today's environment, today's world, especially with everything we've talked about so far today.
Well, when you and I began collaborating in the mid 1990s, I was a media personality for GayWired.com, but I also helped with PR and marketing. And I remember I think maybe it was Carell's show, but I said the internet is allowing us to jump homophobic Hollywood gridlock and go directly to a global audience that wants and needs entertainment content for and about their lives.
Mhm.
And decades later, we can still use the internet to jump over the gatekeepers, not the least of which is our own government, which
Mhm.
is really scary.
Yeah.
But then I always like to tell this story. So we were working in your garage office in West Hollywood, and I was on staff at the time with Gay Wired. We were all in this room, the New York, was it the Wall
Wall
Street
Street Journal.
Journal? The Wall Street Journal had done a story about leading LGBTQ plus websites, and they mentioned Planet Out and Gay.com. And so I gave them a call to get through to the reporter, and I'm explaining that about our company, and I didn't realize it, but everybody in the room had just gone completely silent to listen to me. And that's when the famous line came out that leaving gaywired.com out of the story was a glaring omission.
Yes. You were famous from that point forward for glaring omission.
Glaring omission. And it would be a glaring omission if I didn't have you on the show regularly. And I love you dearly, and I'm so happy we're both here doing what it is that we do in the world. And the 60s look good on us.
I like to say, I think so.
Yes. Well, thanks again, Matt. Come on the show anytime.
Thank you. I love it. And I'll always here for you and with you.
Great. And hang tight, because you and I can dish for a moment after the closing credits when we're no longer on the air. And for those of you watching, yes, we're going to talk about you after this.
In a safe place, I got room to breathe. Been a long chase, but at last I'm free. These open woods, I knew I could find peace here. Nothing like the city where I got tired of the running, the catching up. I got hungry for the stunning high mountain tops. So I made some plans, some dreams to catch, to promised lands, to find my path, see the planet.
I want to thank you for watching and take a moment to thank my media partners. KGay 103.1 Palm Springs. Ask your smart speaker to open KGAY. GayDesertGuide.LGBT. The Palm Springs Post, locally owned neighborhood news. And Pink Media. Find them at pinkmedia.lgbt. PromoHomo.TV is a mission-driven online television network now streaming worldwide, spotlighting the people, stories, and culture shaping our LGBTQ plus community. To submit a spotlight, share a story idea, or shop mission-driven merch, visit PromoHomo.TV/empower. That's PromoHomo.TV/empower. Find full episodes on the homepage of PromoHomo.TV.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Sanlow.
And I'm Kelly Watson. We love supporting PromoHomo.TV and Nicholas's work. The importance of LGBTQ media cannot be overemphasized.
And Nicholas makes this world a better place for all of us.